Imagine standing on a cold plain 40,000 years ago. The air is crisp, the world is untamed, and humanity is not alone. Two intelligent species are about to meet for the first time: Homo sapiens, our ancestors, and Neanderthals, our closest relatives. What happened during this momentous encounter? Did they greet each other as allies, fight as rivals, or something far more complex? Today, we travel back in time to uncover the story of that fateful meeting and how it shaped the destiny of our species. The stage was set around 40,000 years ago. By this time, Neanderthals had dominated Europe and Western Asia for hundreds of thousands of years. They were masters of their environment, hunting large game, surviving harsh Ice Age winters, and crafting tools perfectly suited for their needs. But they were not alone. Far to the south, Homo sapiens, modern humans, were on the move, leaving their African homeland in search of new opportunities. Unlike Neanderthals, Homo sapiens were recent newcomers to the evolutionary stage. They brought with them advanced tools, symbolic art, and a remarkable ability to adapt to new environments. As they ventured into Europe and the Middle East, their world collided with the Neanderthals, a meeting of minds, cultures, and survival strategies. But what would such an encounter have looked like? Let us step into that moment in history, the first time two species of humans stood face to face. We do not know exactly where or how the first meeting took place, but archaeologists believe it likely happened in the Middle East or southeastern Europe. These regions were crossroads, where the migrations of Homo sapiens intersected with Neanderthal territories. Imagine a group of Homo sapiens arriving in a valley after a long journey. They spot movement in the distance. At first, they think it is another band of their own kind, but as they approach, they see something unfamiliar. The figures are shorter, stockier, and their faces are distinct: broad noses, heavy brows, and piercing eyes. These are not animals, but they are not quite the same as the humans they know. The Neanderthals, too, must have felt the same mix of curiosity and caution. Were these encounters peaceful? Evidence from archaeological sites suggests they might have been. Tools, animal bones, and even signs of shared shelter hint that Neanderthals and Homo sapiens may have cooperated at times, especially when resources were abundant. But make no mistake, there was also competition. Both species hunted the same animals, gathered the same plants, and sought out the same caves for shelter. Rivalry was inevitable. And yet, these first meetings were not only about survival. They were also about discovery. Did these two species exchange knowledge? Did they try to communicate? While Homo sapiens had the advantage of more complex language, Neanderthals were no strangers to communication. It is likely that gestures, expressions, and shared actions helped bridge the gap. So, what happened next? The relationship between Homo sapiens and Neanderthals was likely a mix of cooperation, competition, and, in some cases, intimacy. Recent discoveries have revealed that these two species did not just coexist, they interbred. In fact, up to 2% of the DNA of modern non-African populations comes from Neanderthals. This means that the legacy of those first encounters lives on in all of us. But if Neanderthals and Homo sapiens were so similar, why did one species disappear while the other thrived? The answer is not simple. Some scientists believe that Homo sapiens outcompete Neanderthals, using their advanced tools and social networks to dominate resources. Others point to climate change, which may have made survival harder for the cold-adapted Neanderthals. There's even evidence to suggest that Neanderthals were not entirely wiped out but instead were absorbed into Homo sapiens populations through interbreeding. Whatever the cause, by around 40,000 years ago, the Neanderthals were gone, leaving Homo sapiens as the last human species standing. The day Homo sapiens met Neanderthals was more than just a meeting of two species, it was the beginning of a shared story. Through interbreeding, their genetic legacy lives on in us. Scientists have uncovered genes from Neanderthals that influence modern human traits, including immunity, skin tone, and even adaptations to living at high altitudes. These ancient genes helped early Homo sapiens adapt to new environments, giving them an evolutionary advantage as they spread across the globe. But their legacy is not only biological. Consider the tools, art, and behaviors that Neanderthals developed. Recent studies have shown that Neanderthals made jewelry, used pigments to decorate themselves, and may have even developed symbolic rituals. Could some of these practices have inspired early Homo sapiens? It is not hard to imagine two groups sitting around a fire, observing and learning from one another. The Neanderthals may be gone, but their impact on humanity remains profound. What if Neanderthals had never gone extinct? Would they have integrated fully into Homo sapiens societies? Would we have two distinct human species living together today? Some scientists argue that Neanderthals were just as capable of innovation and creativity as Homo sapiens. Perhaps they would have built their own civilizations, creating unique languages, technologies, and cultures. On the other hand, would we have seen more conflict? Two species competing for the same resources could have led to long-term tensions. The idea of a world where Neanderthals and Homo sapiens coexisted raises fascinating questions about diversity, cooperation, and the very nature of what it means to be human. The meeting between Neanderthals and Homo sapiens reminds us of our shared humanity. We are not the solitary conquerors of the Earth, we are part of a much larger story, a story of survival, adaptation, and connection. The Neanderthals may be gone, but they are still with us, etched into our DNA and our history. As we look back on this ancient encounter, we are reminded that humanity's strength lies not just in its ability to compete, but in its ability to connect, to learn, and to grow. The story of Homo sapiens and Neanderthals is not just a story of the past, it is a story that continues to shape our present and inspire our future. What do you think happened when humans first met Neanderthals? Were they cautious allies, bitter rivals, or something far more complicated, a relationship that blended cooperation, competition, and even intimacy? Were those first meetings peaceful exchanges of knowledge and resources, or were they tense and marked by mistrust and fear? Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between, hidden in the ancient traces of their shared history. We may never know the full story, but your theories and insights could shed light on this fascinating chapter of our shared past. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think we could have coexisted for longer, or was the disappearance of the Neanderthals inevitable? If you enjoyed this journey back in time, be sure to give this video a like, it helps us bring more incredible stories to you. And if you are curious about the mysteries of the past, from ancient civilizations to human evolution, make sure to subscribe to Misty Feed. By joining our growing community, you will never miss an episode as we continue to uncover the stories that shaped our species and our world.